Greetings from the Nutmeg TV studios. I'm Eric DeMeo. Welcome to Behind the Show, a program created by Nutmeg TV to honor the folks in our community that are producing shows for your benefit and enjoyment. In other words, the content on this channel, for the most part, comes from regular people like you who decided that they'd like to give television a try. I wanted to see what makes them tick, how they got the idea to produce their program, and how they made it happen. So get ready for the show about a show, starting right now. My guest today is Rick Naples. Rick is the host of The Real Estate Show. Welcome, Rick.
Thank you very much, Eric.
Yeah, thanks for being here.
Appreciate the opportunity.
So something that's kind of a key to Rick's show is his little catchphrase. Do you want to give us a little catchphrase? I'm not going to try it. You're the master.
I always start the show off by saying, "It's The Real Estate Show."
All right, how's the mics in there? We good with audio? That didn't distort anything, did it? No, I'm hearing it didn't. Okay, so Rick, you grew up in New Britain, you said, and you went to New Britain High. Were you born and raised in Connecticut?
Born and raised in Connecticut. I've always lived in the central part and born in New Britain.
Okay. Now, how long have you been in real estate?
I got my license in 2003. That's when I became a real estate agent, and I became a broker just last year.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So about 15 years you've
been
in?
15 years total.
Okay, great.
Yeah. So
now, what'd you do before that?
A number of different things. I mean, I started my career off in retail sales, and that kind of developed into the other side of sales, which was financing the purchases, and that led me into other careers and other businesses as I went along. And I wanted to change up and get out of sales. But with all the different things that I was doing, my father actually said to me, "You'd be a great real estate agent. You should try that."
Okay.
So I figured, well, why not? And I took the test and passed, and here I am today.
Great.
Yeah.
Now, a little birdie told me that you, in the past, were involved in music or DJ work or something like that.
Yeah, you know, it's funny because all through high school, you had two types of people. You had the folks that were into repairing cars, and then you had the musicians.
Right.
So I was the musician in high school.
What'd you play?
Piano.
Oh, wow.
And haven't played it in years, but that was my big thing in high school. But that had led me to kind of interested in entertaining and things along that particular lines. And I had an opportunity back in the 80s, not to date myself, to go to the New England Broadcasting Institute and get an FCC broadcasting license.
Really? Okay.
And to take part in, through the college I was at, some of the radio programs they were doing. I even filmed a couple of commercials for one of the local television stations. Okay. One of which made the air and the other one got cut. That's what you kind of got to live with when you're doing that.
That's how the chips fall sometimes. Yeah. So it seems like you're kind of outgoing. You like to be a performer.
Yeah, I mean, it's not so much as being a performer, but in all the careers that I've been in when I've reached the management level, I've always been the kind of guy that they pick me to train a class or to do a seminar or something like that. So I started getting involved in a little bit of public speaking and getting used to being in front of people. Okay. So when the opportunity came up to do a television show, it's kind of like, well, talking to the cameras, like talking to a bunch of people. Right. So just kind of fit in naturally.
When you were a kid, were you, into
Not so
like
much.
that?
My younger brother was the ham of the family. Okay. I was kind of the quiet one. But my English teacher once said to me, "Quiet waters run deep." So I guess it just took me a little while longer to bloom.
Nice. Okay. So let's talk about real estate for a little bit. You've been doing it for 15 years.
15 years, yeah.
And for sales even longer. So
sales even longer. I mean, it's real estate was kind of the next move for me to go in my sales career. I mean, first of all, you have to have a true love of working with people. Yeah. And I always had an interest in housing. I mean, in another life, I always fashioned myself as being a builder, you know, and doing that aspect of it. But, and, you know, learning to use tools from a very early age, I thought that might be a way I would go.
Yeah.
But it's too much work. I give a lot of credit to the builders out there.
I know. I tried it for a little while, too.
It's more fun to show houses and sell them that way.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah, so when I started in 2003, the markets were great. I made a really nice living, and then unfortunately 2008 came along and things kind of turned around, so it was kind of, you know, everybody fight for themselves and survive, but I got through it. And then on the flip end of it, like I said, I switched a couple of different companies, stayed in real estate, and then after so many years of being an agent and also an administrator, it kind of just made sense for me to step the next level and become a broker and open up my own company.
Right.
So that's kind of where I went.
Okay, so I have a question. What makes, what's the difference between a great real estate agent and just kind of a okay one?
That's a hard question to ask because this is a people business. You know, you're asking folks who you've probably never met before to put trust in you to help them make the largest purchase or sell the largest asset they have in their lifetime. So it's a very people-oriented business. I've been fortunate enough where people tell me I'm a likable guy.
Yeah.
So I think that's kind of my edge. You know, people seem to be comfortable around me and entrusting me to do that with them. So I'd say probably the biggest difference between a mediocre real estate agent and a great real estate agent is personality, trust, and communication.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, nice.
Yeah.
So obviously we don't have all day, and you just were touching on the financial crisis, but kind of in a nutshell, what's the climate like now?
Well, there's a number of things that are going on now. We came out of a bad period for real estate where housing prices were depressed. We had a lot of foreclosures on the market. Now we're kind of coming out of that cloud. Here in Connecticut, we've started to see prices go up just a little bit. But of course, the federal government's raising the interest rates too. I have a lot of buyers that come to me, they're concerned, you know, should I buy now or should I wait? Because interest rates are going up. But you have to remember, you know, back when I bought my first house, mortgage interest rates were 14, 15%. Now they're still hovering around 4%.
Oh.
So the interest rate is not all that bad in comparison. So the market, it's starting to get there. I think Connecticut's a little bit behind the 8 ball to the rest of the country.
Really?
But we are getting there slowly but surely. Right now, we don't have a lot of houses to sell, so we're looking for more houses to sell. So, that's the big challenge. You have the buyers that want to buy a house and can't find them anything.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So someone like me, I'm not even sure if I want to live in Connecticut my entire life. So that's kind of why I haven't really bought a house. But a lot of people tell me renting is terrible. You know, you don't get any equity for the hard work, all the money you're paying.
That's true. That's true. But for a lot of people, sometimes renting is the next step to buying a home. You know, they can rent and they don't have all the additional expenses of home ownership. So they're able to put away a little bit of money to get that down payment up and those closing costs they're going to need. It also depends on what your specific situation is in life. You know, I started off as a renter before I became a homeowner. Then as I got older and things started changing, I went from a homeowner to a renter. So I've gone the full circle in my life. All
right, so let's shift gears a little bit. Let's talk about the show, you know, that you do here at Nutmeg. You're going along as an agent, you know, selling houses for a little while. So walk me through the process of, you know, how the real estate show comes to be.
I love telling this story because it's a pretty neat little thing. One of the real estate companies I was with had in the past done some business with community TV through advertising.
Okay.
So I was kind of aware of what community TV had to offer.
Not a lot of people are.
So it was, quite honestly, it was Nutmeg TV was going around for a show that they were doing at the time called Strictly Business.
Oh, yeah, I know.
And they came in, they walked into the real estate office and they said, you know, we do 2 businesses on each show. We've never done a real estate company before. Would you guys be interested in appearing on the show? And of course, my broker said no, he wasn't interested in it.
Okay.
So I happened to pick up the conversation. So I said, well, I might want to be interested. So I got my broker's approval and Nutmeg came in, we filmed it. I had my 15 minutes of fame, you might say. And about 2 weeks later, I was called by Nutmeg TV and they said to me, geez, you seem so relaxed and so knowledgeable. Would you consider doing a television show? And it's like, well, geez, I don't know. That's kind of a big step to make, to do a television show. But I figured, well, why not? So I came here to Nutmeg TV. I took the classes.
So they just really told you about the process, because anybody can do it.
Yep, got bitten by the bug, and the real estate show was born.
Okay. So when you started, did you know, you knew a little bit about, radio, so you maybe knew a little bit about equipment in that regard, but did you know anything about video, like editing or
not
setting up a camera?
No, and kudos to Nutmeg TV. I will say this, if you're considering to do a show, the folks at Nutmeg TV are extremely helpful. They walk you through the process. They're there every step of the way. They're there to help you if you get yourself into a spot and how to get out of it and so on and so forth. And there's the miracle of learning the editing machine to make yourself look good.
Yeah, I think editing's fun.
Yeah.
Not everyone thinks it's fun.
Yeah, there's a lot of support. You shouldn't be afraid to express an idea for a possible show.
Yeah.
Because as I said, even though you've never done that before, there's a lot of support here to put that together and do it.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So your show is not the kind like this show right here. It's not in the studio. You actually take our cameras somewhere else and you record shows. What are the struggles in that regard?
Well, originally when I kicked off the real estate show, we were going to do a studio type show. Unfortunately, the crew that was working with me were all realtors, and realtors have unpredictable schedules.
Oh, of course, yeah.
And of course, in TV, when you're trying to produce a show, you have to there's time constraints.
Yeah, you do. If you're going to do a studio show, you have to really stick to a schedule. It can be.
Yeah, so it got to be overwhelming trying to get everybody together to do the show. So I made the choice to switch gears and make it a field type show, where I could come and pick up the camera and take it out with me and either film from my home, or a lot of times if I have the opportunity, I've listed a property and I get the seller's permission, I'll film from their kitchen or their living room to kind of give the show a little bit more realty as far as being able to do something there. So, and by doing it myself as a field, I'm the jack of all trades. I write it, I film it, I edit it. And
well, that was my next question. You don't have anyone helping out in the show?
No, I'm a one-man storm as far as putting the show together. Well, it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work, but you learn. I've done this a number of years now on Nutmeg TV, so I have a format I'm very comfortable with. And as technology has improved, both here at the television station and also my own knowledge, I'm able to pre-prepare a lot of stuff at home. So when I come here to the television station, it's just a matter of piecing it all together so that it can air within the time frame that it's allotted.
Right. Yeah. You're right. It is a lot of work for the folks at home. When he said field, that's the term for when you're taking cameras out. So that's a field shoot rather than a studio shoot. So I know that you do show some homes on your show that may or may not be for sale, but you also add a lot of interesting things, not just for buyers, but for the sellers, and even, I would say, other real estate agents might find it interesting. I was really recently watching, and you had a slew of just interesting trivia tidbits. I even saw one, it said that Adolf Hitler actually owned a mansion in California.
In California, that he never visited.
Yeah, as far as I know, he's never set foot in anything about that.
Well, that's the thing. When coming up for the topics, the purpose of the show is to try to share information about real estate, the real estate transaction that buyers and sellers may be interested in. But you can only talk about the same subject so many different ways. So every once in a while, I like to mix it up a little bit and look for something different. I've done shows on weird properties that are for sale or unusual properties. And one day I was thinking, geez, I've got this whole collection of these interesting facts that concern real estate. Why not put together some of them and share them with the viewing audience? And that's how that show was born.
I think people that might not even be interested in real estate would like to watch your type of show. I'm a TV junkie, so you watch all kinds of shows, so I really appreciate that you put all that interesting stuff in there. Speaking of interesting weird properties, another one is, because we're in the Farmington area, the Mike Tyson 50 Cent house. Have you been there?
That's an interesting story, and we have limited time, so I won't go into all the details of it. But that house was built by a realtor, a real estate company. I believe it was called Colonial Realty at the time. And I had the opportunity to tour it when he owned it.
Oh, okay.
And then, of course, over the years, it changed hands. Mike Tyson bought it, and then he sold it to 50 cents. It's quite a house. It's a little bit overbuilt for the area that it's in, but it is an amazing property.
Yeah, I hear rumors, and I could only imagine. Yeah. So let's talk about what you're doing now with the show. I mean, you recently said you became a broker, so you started a business, right?
Yeah, I started a business by becoming a real estate broker, and we're in a growth process. I'm still going through all the motions of getting the business where I need it to get, because there's a lot of things that are involved. When you're not working for a national company and you're on your own, you got all the silly things to worry about, like signs and lock boxes and things along those sorts. The real estate show continues to be my opportunity to be able to bring to the general public the value of using a realtor when it comes to a real estate transaction. And as a broker, I want to continue doing that. So we'll continue doing the real estate show and continue bringing information out to everybody. And anything interesting that happens that I can put into the time frame, either through a presentation or through the comments that I make, to share with the viewing audience.
Okay, great. Now, what can you tell me about some other things you've been involved in as an agent and a broker?
Well, it's funny because a lot of real estate agents get into the business to sell houses or help buyers buy houses. And there's a lot of opportunities to get involved in the real estate industry. Now, I've taken different paths. I've had the fortunacy in the association that I belong to become part of that association, not only as a member, but to serve on the board of directors. I worked my way through the board of directors, had the honor of working my way up to the presidency of the association a couple of years ago. And in 2016, I was rewarded by the membership recognizing me as the Realtor of the Year.
Oh, wow.
For the Mid-State Association of Realtors. So, and I've continued to be involved. And of course, off of that, on the local situation, you get involved in the state level and all the different things that go on with the state. One of the biggest things that you do as a realtor is not only watch the market, but watch out what's going on Capitol Hill as far as laws that are concerned. And I'm not going to say I'm really politically active, but I do take a point to respond to any particular calls that the real estate industry comes out with as far as being able to fight some of the silly things they come up with on Capitol Hill, like overtaxation or trying to affect the real estate market, or just recently trying to take away the mortgage interest deduction from everybody. So it was kind of like all the realtors get together and kind of voice their opinion as to that's not the way to go. I stay very involved in the association. It's a way for me to talk to other realtors and find out what's going on. It's great to read articles, Eric, about the market, but if you really want to know what the market's doing, sit in a room with 300 other realtors and talk about the market.
So the name of your company is?
Zone Realty, LLC.
Okay, and you actually sponsor Nutmeg TV through that business, right?
I do sponsor, yes, I do sponsor,
Okay, so your actual sponsorship video runs after shows that are on Nutmeg TV?
Yes, it does,
Okay, great. Now, Rick, do you have any just interesting stories from your time?
It's being a realtor for the last 15 years, realtors experience all kinds of things. And just when you think you've seen it all and done it all, something new comes up. Now, one of the things that realtors do when they're working with the buyers, they have a technique, they call it the buyer interview. And that's when they sit down and they ask the pros, what are you looking for in a house? What would you give up for this? And so on and so forth. But what they forget to ask is if the buyer has any allergies. Because a lot of us have pets, dogs, cats, whatever, and you forget to ask the buyer. You just assume everybody likes dogs and cats. Well, one time I had a young lady I was showing a house to, and we hadn't had that conversation. We went in, we looked at the house, we went all through the whole place, and all she's saying to me is, Rick, I love this place. It's perfect. It's laid out wonderful. How soon can we make an offer? I said, well, you haven't seen the whole house yet. Let's just wait a minute. So here's the door to the basement. Why don't you go down to the basement and just take a look around, come back up, and we'll discuss what you think. She goes downstairs to the basement, and realtors sometimes don't go into the basements. We stay up in the kitchen area so we can allow the buyer to go explore on their own. She made it to the bottom flight of the stairs, and this was one of those stairs that went down and took a hard right. She got down to the bottom of the stairs, and I hear a huge gasp. She comes up the stairs, walks right by me, and goes right out of the house. I was like, okay, what's that all about? So I chased her out of the house, and I said, what's the matter? What's the matter? She said, you got to see what's downstairs. I said, okay, well, give me a moment. So I went back in the house, and I go downstairs. And you go down the stairs, and you turn right, and standing right there is a full-size black stuffed bear. So it just startled her. It turned out the owner of the house was a hunter.
So a real bear, an actual bear.
A real bear, yeah. So the basement was basically his trophy room.
Oh.
So he had all, little animals all stuffed, and he had the deer heads and, weapons and the whole bit. Now, the realtor that had listed the house didn't mention anything about that. So it was kind of interesting. If I had said to her, do you have any animal allergies? That would have came up in the conversation with the fellow realtor and scheduling the time to go see it. And the realtor may have said, well, yeah, the guy's a hunter and he's got,
So was she just, angry at hunting, or did she
No, she was just surprised.
Just
and
startled?
Of course, because of allergies, she was startled. Now, the moral of the story is she did end up buying the house.
Oh, okay. I was wondering if she thought maybe it would be haunted by the spirits of these animals or something.
No, but I just thought that was a funny situation to be in.
That makes me think of another question. Are you, as a realtor, are you required to tell someone whether or not this house may or may not have been haunted in the past?
Only if they ask.
Okay.
Only if they ask. That's one part of some of the things that is not required by Connecticut state law to disclose.
Okay.
But if somebody does ask, it's just like you'll have folks that want to know if they're buying an older house, if anyone has passed away in the home. Because some of the older houses here in Connecticut, they were owned by one family to another family to another family, and when the patriarchs of the family would pass away, they'd bury them in the basement.
Yeah.
So sometimes you get that kind of weird question. You're not required by law to address that, but if the buyer writes a letter to the seller, then the seller is obligated to answer that question to the best of their knowledge.
Right. Now, how about if just maybe like a crazy crime happened in the house?
Same thing.
Yeah?
Same thing. And there's actually websites now that you can go to that tap into all the judicial sites. So if something happened in that particular property, you usually can find out pretty easily on your own. One of the things that buyer agents will tell their buyers is do their due diligence.
Yeah.
Research the house, research the area. I can direct you to a few websites, but I can't really tell you this information. You need to find it out on your own.
Now, say I am someone that wants to sell their house. Any tips, any quick tips that you might have?
Oh, there's a lot of tips,
Yeah.
As far as that's concerned. It depends. What a lot of realtors will do is when they meet with a seller, they go through the house, they take a tour.
Yeah.
And they make suggestions as to what the seller can do to prepare their house when it goes on the market. Because you have to remember, as realtors, we do dozens and dozens of real estate transactions every single year. A buyer or seller may do one or two in their lifetime.
Right.
So we see a lot. So we usually can tell them, maybe you want to change a color in this room, maybe you want to lessen the amount of furniture in the room. My favorite thing is when you have a family living in the house and you have the artwork all over the refrigerator. I tell them it's time to put the artwork away so we can see the refrigerator, not all the paperwork and or the magnets that are around the refrigerator. So there's a little bit of preparation. Most realtors will provide a seller before the house goes on the market kind of a little list. Here are the things to do to prepare your home to go on the market.
Yeah.
And then they go from there. They make it as simple as possible. It's not a lot of work, but sometimes there is some work that's got to be done, And they also tell them get a thick skin. Because buyers come in and they make comments, and then you relay the comment back to the seller, and you say, "Don't take it personally."
Right.
So you go from there. Yeah. Yep.
Great. Your show is Sundays 11:30 and Tuesdays at 8 o'clock, right?
At 8 o'clock, and I believe I'm on Thursday afternoon at 3:30.
Okay,
Yes.
so people can look out for that if they're interested.
Yeah.
I think it's, you were the first guest on Behind the Show.
And I thank you very much for that opportunity. Yes.
Thanks for being on.
That's great. Thank you, Eric.
So For Nutmeg TV, I'm Eric DeMeo. Now, I just wanted to let everyone know at home that if you're interested in watching any of the shows that are done at Nutmeg TV, you can find us online, on YouTube, on our website, which is www.nutmegtv.org. And if anyone out there in TV land is interested in having their own show, if you have an idea for something, you're welcome to give us a call. If you have comments, questions about anything you see on Nutmeg TV, you're also welcome to call us. But for now, I'm Eric DeMeo, and have a great day.